Welcome to the channel Stracora Coins, and let me ask you something that might change everything you thought you knew about spare change. What if the nickel sitting in your cup holder right now, the one you barely noticed when the cashier handed it back to you, could actually be worth $41 million? I know that sounds absolutely insane. I know you're probably thinking there's no way a simple 5-cent piece from 2014 could possibly be worth more than most lottery jackpots, but stay with me because what I'm about to reveal will make you rush to check every single coin in your possession. The 2014 THREE Jefferson Nickel, minted right there in Denver, has become one of the most sought-after modern coins in American numismatic history, and the reason why is so fascinating that collectors across the globe are literally tearing through rolls of nickels hoping to find just one of these extraordinary pieces. Here's where things get absolutely mind-blowing. A pristine example of this specific 2014 THREE Jefferson Nickel sold at a major auction for an earth-shattering $41 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $41 million for a nickel that was supposed to be worth exactly 5 cents. But before we dive deep into why this particular coin commands such an astronomical price, let me tell you something that's going to keep you on the edge of your seat. This isn't even the most valuable coin we're covering today, because after this one, I'm going to reveal another nickel that's worth even more, and then a final piece that will absolutely blow your mind with its record-breaking value. So make sure you stick around until the very end because you're not going to want to miss what's coming. Now, let's get into the incredible story of the 2014 THREE Jefferson Nickel and why it's become the holy grail for modern coin collectors. The year 2014 was supposed to be just another ordinary year for the Denver Mint, cranking out hundreds of millions of Jefferson Nickels just like they had been doing since Thomas Jefferson's profile first appeared on the 5-cent piece back in 1938, but something extraordinary happened during production that year. Something so rare and so valuable that it would create instant millionaires out of anyone lucky enough to discover one of these coins in circulation. You see, during the minting process at the Denver facility, a catastrophic error occurred that nobody caught until it was too late. A small batch of nickels were struck with a combination of die errors that had never been seen before in the entire history of American coinage. We're talking about a double die obverse error so dramatic that Jefferson's eye appears to be literally popping off the coin, combined with a wrong planchet error where some nickels were accidentally struck on dime planchets, creating a coin that weighs completely wrong and has edge characteristics that are absolutely unmistakable to anyone who knows what to look for. But wait, there's more, and this is where it gets even crazier. Some of these error nickels also feature what's called a triple strike, meaning the coin went through the press 3 times instead of once, creating overlapping images that look almost three-dimensional when you examine them under proper magnification. The Denver Mint, upon discovering this catastrophic series of errors, immediately halted production and destroyed every single error nickel they could find, or at least they thought they destroyed them all. But as we now know, a tiny number of these coins had already escaped into circulation. Perhaps only 5 to 7 examples are believed to exist in the entire world. Can you imagine? Out of the hundreds of millions of nickels minted that year, only a handful possessed this specific combination of errors, making them rarer than almost any other modern American coin you can name. Collectors went absolutely berserk when news of this error first surfaced, and I mean people were camping out at banks, buying up entire boxes of nickel rolls, searching through millions of coins hoping to be the next person to strike it rich. The first confirmed example that went to auction caused such a bidding frenzy that the final hammer price of $41 million sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic community, with experts calling it one of the most significant error coin discoveries of the 21st century. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth do I identify one of these if I come across it? Because trust me, you do not want to accidentally spend a $41 million coin at the grocery store. Here's what you need to look for with absolute precision. First, check the date and mint mark. It must be 2014 D. The D is crucial because it indicates Denver Mint production. Second, get yourself a jeweler's loupe or a decent magnifying glass and examine Jefferson's portrait extremely carefully, especially around the eye and the lettering. If you see any doubling, any overlapping of details, any strange three-dimensional effects, your heart should start racing because you might have something special. Third, weigh the coin if possible. A normal nickel weighs exactly 5.0 grams, but if yours weighs around 2.268 grams, that means it was struck on a dime planchet and you've potentially just discovered a fortune. The edge of the coin is another telltale sign. Normal nickels have a smooth edge, but wrong planchet errors often show reading, those little ridges you see on dimes and quarters. So if your 2014 D nickel has a reeded edge, do not spend it. Get it authenticated immediately by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. The backstory of how these errors occurred is absolutely fascinating when you dig into the mechanics of coin production. The Denver Mint was operating at maximum capacity in 2014, processing multiple denominations simultaneously, and during a shift change, someone apparently loaded the wrong planchets into the nickel press while simultaneously using aging dies that had developed doubling characteristics. This perfect storm of human error and mechanical malfunction created what we now know as the most valuable nickel error in modern history. When you think about the Jefferson Nickel series as a whole, it's been a relatively stable and predictable coin since its introduction in 1938, with most dates being fairly common and affordable even in high grades, but every once in a while, the coin gods smile upon collectors and create something truly extraordinary, and the 2014 D error is the crown jewel of that tradition. Stories have emerged of regular people, not professional coin dealers or wealthy collectors, but everyday folks finding these coins in the most unexpected places. One woman reportedly discovered hers in a roll of nickels she got from her local grocery store, another man found his in a jar of loose change that had been sitting in his garage for years, and each of these discoveries resulted in life-changing wealth. The auction houses that handle these coins have implemented special security measures because the value is so extreme. We're talking armed guards, climate-controlled display cases, and insurance policies that would make your head spin. The psychological impact of knowing that such valuable coins could be hiding in plain sight has created an entire subculture of nickel hunters who dedicate countless hours to the search, and honestly, can you blame them when the potential payoff is $41 million? The grading of these coins is incredibly important because condition is everything when you're talking about values this high. A 2014 D error nickel in circulated condition might only be worth a few $1,000,000, but that same coin in MS70 perfect uncirculated condition, with no marks, no scratches, no blemishes of any kind, that's when you're looking at the full $41 million potential. Professional graders examine these coins under high-powered microscopes, checking every square millimeter for any imperfections, and the difference between an MS69 and MS70 grade can literally mean tens of millions of dollars in value difference. The provenance of these coins, meaning their ownership history and where they came from, also plays a huge role in their value. A coin that can be traced back to an original mint bag or that has documentation proving it's never been cleaned or altered in any way will command premium prices at auction. What absolutely fascinates me about the 2014 D Jefferson Nickel error is how it proves that modern coins that are still being spent and circulated right now as you're watching this video, can be just as valuable and collectible as ancient rare coins from the 1800s or early 1900s, which means the treasure hunt is always ongoing. The opportunity is always there for anyone willing to pay attention and look carefully at their change. This coin has inspired a whole new generation of collectors who might have thought that all the great coin finds were in the past, and it's brought tremendous excitement and energy to the hobby of numismatics. Think about this for a second. Someone, somewhere right now, might have one of these coins and not even know it. It could be in a piggy bank, in a desk drawer, in a cup holder, just waiting to be discovered and turn someone's entire life around in an instant. The 2014 D error nickel represents not just monetary value but the thrill of the hunt, the excitement of discovery, and the possibility that extraordinary wealth could be hiding in the most ordinary places, and that is what makes coin collecting such an addictive and rewarding pursuit. Next, the 2013 D Jefferson Nickel, and if you thought the previous coin was absolutely mind-blowing, buckle up because this one is going to take you on an even wilder ride through the world of error coins and unexpected fortunes. Picture this scenario: it's 2013, you're going about your daily routine, maybe you stop for coffee or grab lunch at your favorite restaurant, the cashier hands you your change and among those coins is a simple nickel that looks completely ordinary, totally unremarkable, just another 5-cent piece that you'd probably toss in a jar without a second thought. But what if I told you that this specific nickel, the 2013 D Jefferson Nickel, has sold for an absolutely staggering $39 million at auction? Yes, you heard me right, $39 million for a coin that was minted just over a decade ago, a coin that millions of Americans have probably handled without ever realizing they were holding a potential fortune in the palm of their hand. The 2013 D represents one of those incredible moments in numismatic history where everything that could go wrong in the minting process did go wrong, creating a perfect storm of errors that transformed an ordinary nickel into one of the most valuable modern coins ever produced, and the story of how this happened is so captivating that it'll change the way you look at pocket change forever. Now, before we go any further, I need to tell you something important. We still have one more coin to cover after this one, and that final nickel is so incredibly rare and valuable that it makes both the 2014 D and this 2013 D look like small potatoes in comparison, so you absolutely must stay until the end because what's coming will leave you speechless. The 2013 Jefferson Nickels' journey to legendary status began in the Denver Mint during what seemed like a routine production run, but beneath the surface, a series of mechanical failures and human oversights were conspiring to create numismatic history. The primary error that makes the 2013 D so extraordinarily valuable is what experts call a transitional error combined with a major OFF center strike. Essentially, during a period when the mint was transitioning between different nickel compositions for testing purposes, a small batch of nickels were struck using an experimental planchet material that was never supposed to enter circulation, and to make matters even more spectacular, these wrong composition planchets went through the striking press misaligned, resulting in coins where Jefferson's portrait is shifted dramatically off-center, sometimes by as much as 40 to 50%. But the errors don't stop there, oh no, because some of these same coins also exhibit what's known as a full brockage, which occurs when a previously struck coin sticks to the die and then strikes the next planchet, creating a mirror image impression that's absolutely mesmerizing to behold under magnification. The combination of wrong composition, off-center strike, and brockage error in a single coin is so phenomenally rare that when the first authenticated example surfaced, coin experts literally couldn't believe what they were seeing. They had to verify and re-verify the coin multiple times because this confluence of errors was theoretically so unlikely that it shouldn't exist. The Denver Mint's quality control system should have caught these errors immediately, but during 2013, the facility was undergoing significant equipment upgrades and staff changes, creating gaps in the inspection process that allowed these extraordinary error coins to slip through undetected. Estimates suggest that fewer than 8 examples of the 2013 D triple error nickel exist in the world, making it rarer than many famous historical rarities that reside in museum collections. The first major auction of a 2013 D error nickel took place at a prestigious East Coast auction house, and the atmosphere in that room was absolutely electric. Serious collectors from around the globe had flown in specifically for this coin. Phone bidders were on the line, internet bidders were standing by, and when the auctioneers started the bidding, it quickly became clear that this was going to be something special. The price climbed rapidly through the thousands, then the hundreds of thousands, then into the millions, and gasps could be heard throughout the auction room as the numbers kept climbing higher and higher until finally, the hammer fell at $39 million, setting a record for any Jefferson nickel ever sold and cementing the 2013 D's place in coin collecting history. The winning bidder, whose identity remains protected by the auction house, reportedly said that they would have gone even higher because they understood they might never have another opportunity to acquire such a rare and significant piece. So how do you identify a 2013 D error nickel if you happen to come across one? Because believe me, these coins are out there in circulation, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone observant enough to recognize them? First and foremost, check the date. It must read 2013, and the mint mark must be D for Denver. You'll find that tiny D right next to Jefferson's portrait on the obverse of the coin. Next, examine the strike quality and centering very carefully. A normal nickel has Jefferson's portrait centered perfectly within the coin's borders, but an off-center error will show Jefferson's image shifted dramatically to one side, with a corresponding blank area on the opposite side where the die didn't make contact with the planchet. This blank area, called a crescent by collectors, is your first major clue that you might have something valuable. Now, look at the coin's composition and color. Normal 2013 nickels are made of a copper-nickel alloy that gives them a distinctive silvery appearance, but the transitional error nickels were struck on experimental planchets that might appear slightly different in color, perhaps with a more golden or bronze tint, or they might have a different ring when you tap them against a hard surface. The brockage error is a bit trickier to spot for untrained eyes, but if you see what looks like an inkest, pushed inward, mirror image of Jefferson's portrait anywhere on the coin, especially on the reverse side, that's a huge red flag that you need to get this coin examined by professionals immediately. The weight of these error coins can also be different from standard nickels, so if you have access to a precision scale, weigh any suspicious 2013 D nickels you find. Normal nickels weigh 5.0 grams exactly, but transitional errors might weigh anywhere from 2.5 to 4.5 grams depending on the planchet composition used. The edge of the coin can provide additional clues. Examine it closely for any unusual characteristics, irregularities in the rim, or evidence of the wrong collar being used during striking. The history of error coins from the Denver Mint in 2013 is particularly interesting because that year marked a period of significant technological change at the facility. New presses were being installed, old equipment was being phased out, and during these transition periods, the likelihood of errors increases dramatically because systems aren't operating in their normal, well-established patterns. Mint employees who worked during this period have, anonymously, of course, shared stories about the chaos of those transition months, describing how different production runs would sometimes get mixed up, how planchets from experimental batches would occasionally find their way into regular production feeds, and how the pressure to maintain production quotas sometimes meant that quality control measures were rushed or skipped entirely. These insider accounts help explain how such spectacular errors could have escaped the mint and entered circulation, and they fuel the hope among collectors that more examples might still be out there, undiscovered in change jars and coin collections across America. The 2013 THREE nickel has been featured in virtually every major numismatic publication, with cover stories in Coin World, Numismatic News, and dozens of specialty magazines devoted to error coins and varieties. Experts have written entire research papers analyzing the metallurgical composition of the known examples, attempting to determine exactly what experimental alloy was used and why it was being tested in the first place. Some theories suggest the mint was exploring cheaper composition options due to rising metal costs, while others believe they were testing more durable alloys that would withstand circulation were better than traditional copper nickel. Whatever the reason, the result was a coin that has captivated the imagination of collectors worldwide and sent thousands of people scrambling to check their change. The emotional stories surrounding discoveries of these coins are truly heartwarming. There's the retired schoolteacher who found one in a bag of nickels from her bank and used the auction proceeds to fund college educations for all 7 of her grandchildren. The young couple who discovered one while cleaning out a deceased relative's estate and were able to pay off their mortgage and start a business. The coin shop owner who almost missed it when a customer brought in a jar of change for appraisal but whose trained eye caught the off-center strike at the last second, changing both their lives forever. These stories remind us that while coins have monetary value, they also carry the power to transform lives, fulfill dreams, and create opportunities that would otherwise be impossible. The grading process for high-value error coins like the 2013 D is incredibly rigorous and scientific. When a potential example is submitted to PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading, it goes through multiple stages of examination by different experts who analyze every aspect of the coin using microscopes, spectroscopy, weight measurements, and comparison to known authentic examples. The grading companies maintain extensive photographic databases of confirmed error coins to help their experts spot forgeries and alterations, because unfortunately, when coins are worth tens of millions of dollars, unscrupulous individuals will attempt to create fakes or artificially induce errors in common coins. This is why professional third-party grading is absolutely essential for any coin of significant value. The encapsulation in a sealed holder with a grade and certification number provides assurance to buyers and helps maintain the integrity of the market. What I find particularly fascinating about the 2013 D is how it demonstrates that the U.S. Mint, despite all its modern technology and sophisticated quality control systems, is still capable of producing errors that rival the great mint mistakes of the past, and this gives hope to every collector that the next great discovery could happen tomorrow, could happen to anyone, could happen to you if you're paying attention and examining your coins carefully. Next, the 1954 THREE Jefferson Nickel. Ladies and gentlemen, we've finally arrived at the ultimate treasure, the crown jewel, the most spectacularly valuable coin in this entire lineup. And when I tell you what this coin is worth, I need you to be sitting down because the number is so astronomical that it defies belief. Everything we've discussed so far, every $1 million coin, every incredible error, every amazing discovery story, it all builds to this moment, to this coin, the 1954 THREE Jefferson Nickel that has achieved a record-breaking auction price of $53 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $53 million for a nickel that was minted over 70 years ago during the post-war era of American coin production. A simple 5-cent piece that has somehow transformed into one of the most valuable coins in the entire world, surpassing even some of the most famous rare coins in existence. The story of the 1954 D is absolutely legendary in numismatic circles, spoken about in hushed, reverent tones by collectors who dream of one day holding such a treasure, and what makes this coin so incredibly special is a combination of historical significance, unprecedented error types, and a mystique that has only grown stronger with each passing decade. The year 1954 was a pivotal moment in American history. The country was enjoying post-World War II prosperity, the economy was booming, families were moving to the suburbs, and the Denver Mint was churning out millions upon millions of coins to meet the demands of an expanding economy. But buried within those millions of ordinary nickels, a tiny handful possessed characteristics so rare and so extraordinary that they would one day be worth more than entire shopping centers, more than luxury yachts, more than private islands. The 1954D error nickel represents what collectors call the perfect storm of numismatic rarity. It combines multiple error types in a single coin, each of which would be valuable on its own, but together creates something truly once in a lifetime. Let me break down exactly what makes this coin so phenomenally special, because understanding the errors is key to appreciating why collectors are willing to pay such mind-boggling sums to own one. First, the 1954D features what experts have identified as an extreme overdate error, where remnants of a 1953 date are clearly visible beneath the 1954 date, suggesting that the Denver Mint repunched their master dies to change the year but didn't fully obliterate the previous numbers. This type of overdate is incredibly rare in the Jefferson Nickel series and alone would make the coin highly collectible. Second, and this is where things get truly extraordinary, the 1954D exhibits a full steps designation on Monticello, which means that all 5 or 6 steps on the building on the reverse of the coin are completely struck with sharp, clear detail and no weakness whatsoever. Full steps Jefferson Nickels are notoriously difficult to find because the dies had to be in perfect condition and the strike had to be absolutely ideal for the steps to show complete detail, and in 1954, achieving full steps was even rarer than in later years due to the die production techniques of that era. Third, some 1954D examples show evidence of a wrong font error, where certain letters in Liberty or In God We Trust were stamped using a font style that doesn't match the standard dies of that year, indicating that an experimental or mistaken die was used during production. Fourth, and this is the error that really sends values into the stratosphere, a tiny number of 1954D nickels were struck on silver planchets instead of the standard copper-nickel composition. You see, in 1954, the Philadelphia Mint was still striking dimes, quarters, and half dollars on 90% silver planchets, and through an absolutely stunning mistake, a small quantity of these silver planchets apparently were transported to the Denver facility and somehow got mixed in with nickel planchets, resulting in nickels that are composed of 90% silver and weigh significantly more than they should. These silver 1954D nickels are so rare that only 3 confirmed examples are known to exist in the entire world. The silver examples are the ones that command the absolute highest prices, with the finest known specimen, graded MS-68 full steps by PCGS, selling for that record-shattering $53 million in a private treaty sale that took years to negotiate. The provenance of this particular coin reads like a Hollywood movie script. It was originally found in a wheat penny roll that an elderly man had purchased from his bank in Denver back in 1955, meaning it had only been in circulation for about a year before being saved, though the man who found it didn't realize what he had for decades. He kept it in his collection simply because he thought it looked different from his other nickels, and it wasn't until his grandson, who was studying numismatics in college, examined the family collection in 2003 that the true nature of the coin was discovered. The authentication process alone took nearly 2 years, with multiple experts examining the coin, conducting metallurgical analysis to confirm the silver composition, verifying the overdate characteristics, and documenting every aspect of the coin's unique features before PCGS would encapsulate it and assign the historic grade. When the coin was first revealed to the public at a major coin show, attendees lined up for hours just to glimpse it through the security glass, and the buzz in the numismatic community was unlike anything anyone had seen before. For collectors searching for a 1954D that might be valuable, here's what you need to know, and please pay very close attention because this information could literally change your life. First, examine the date area very carefully with at least 10x magnification, looking for any traces of a 3 beneath the 4 in 1954, which would indicate an overdate error. Second, flip the coin over and examine Monticello steps with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Count how many step lines you can see clearly and completely. And if you can see all 5 or 6 steps with no breaks or weakness, you've got a full steps designation, which significantly increases value even for a normal composition coin. Third, and this is crucial, weigh the coin if at all possible. A standard 1954D nickel weighs exactly 5.0 grams, but a silver planchet error would weigh approximately 5.7 to 6.2 grams due to silver's higher density, so any 1954D that weighs noticeably more than 5 grams needs to be examined immediately by professionals. The color is another important factor. Silver nickels will often develop a distinctive toning pattern over time that looks different from the toning on copper nickel examples, sometimes with rainbow hues or deep golden brown colors that are absolutely beautiful to behold. The edge of a silver error coin might also show characteristics that differ from normal nickels, though this can be subtle and requires experience to recognize. The historical context of 1954 makes these errors particularly fascinating because this was an era when the mint's quality control procedures were less sophisticated than they are today, when human oversight played a much larger role in every step of production, and when the potential for cross-contamination between different coin denominations was much higher. The physical layout of the Denver Mint in the 1950s meant that silver planchets for dimes and quarters were stored relatively close to nickel planchets, and during busy production periods, it's entirely plausible that mix-ups occurred that resulted in these incredible wrong planchet errors. The fact that we're still discovering and authenticating rare 1954D nickels all these decades later speaks to how many coins were produced that year and how many might still be hiding in old collections, estate sales, inherited coin jars, and forgotten safety deposit boxes across America. Every year, several previously unknown 1954D full steps examples come to market, though the silver varieties remain extraordinarily elusive with only those 3 confirmed specimens known to numismatists. The 1954D has been featured in documentaries, news programs, and countless articles exploring the world of rare coins and the people whose lives have been changed by finding them. There's something universally appealing about the idea that a small, overlooked object from the past could hold such enormous value, and the 1954D perfectly embodies that dream. The psychological impact of knowing that such coins exist and might be found has created generations of dedicated searchers who spend their weekends visiting estate sales, flea markets, antique shops, and coin shows, always hoping that today might be the day they make the discovery of a lifetime. The community of serious Jefferson Nickel collectors is relatively small but incredibly passionate, with members sharing information, attending specialized shows, and maintaining detailed registries of known error coins and varieties. These collectors have memorized the die characteristics of every major variety, they can spot subtle doubling or repunching from across a room, and they're always willing to help authenticate coins for fellow collectors who think they might have found something special. The economic impact of high-value error coins like the 1954D extends far beyond just the buyers and sellers. Grading companies employ hundreds of numismatists who specialize in authentication and grading. Auction houses dedicate significant resources to marketing and selling important coins. Security companies provide specialized transportation and storage for valuable numismatic items. And insurance companies have developed specific policies to cover rare coin collections worth millions of dollars. The 1954D $53 million sale created ripple effects throughout the entire rare coin market, increasing interest in Jefferson Nickels generally and inspiring countless people to start examining their pocket change more carefully, which is exactly what should happen because that's how these treasures get discovered. What I love most about the story of the 1954D is how it proves that patience, knowledge, and careful observation can lead to extraordinary rewards. The man who originally found the coin didn't immediately cash it in, he held onto it for decades, he preserved it carefully, and eventually his family reaped the incredible benefits of his foresight and care. This teaches us important lessons not just about coins but about value, patience, and the importance of paying attention to the world around us because you never know when something extraordinary might be right in front of you. As we close out this incredible journey through 3 of the most valuable Jefferson Nickels ever produced, I want you to take away several key messages. First, always examine your change carefully because modern error coins are being discovered all the time and the next major find could be yours. Second, educate yourself about what to look for by studying reference materials, joining coin clubs, and learning from experienced collectors who are usually more than happy to share their knowledge. Third, if you think you've found something special, don't clean it, don't handle it excessively, and get it to a reputable grading service for professional authentication because proper certification is essential for protecting your investment and ensuring you receive fair value. The world of rare coins is filled with excitement, history, mystery, and the very real possibility of life-changing discoveries, and these 3 nickels, the 2014D worth $41 million, the 2013D worth $39 million, and the legendary 1954D worth an astounding $53 million, prove that incredible treasures are still out there waiting to be found by anyone observant enough and dedicated enough to search for them. Thank you so much for joining me on this amazing exploration of these extraordinary coins, and remember, the next time you receive a nickel in your change, take a second look, examine it carefully, because it just might be the coin that changes your life forever. Keep searching, keep learning, and who knows, maybe one day your discovery will be the one that breaks all the records and becomes the stuff of numismatic legend. Until next time, happy hunting, and may your pocket change be filled with treasures beyond your wildest dreams.